Now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We're going to give just 60 seconds for the last folks to jump on, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So bear with us for just a little while. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get this started. So hello and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Michael Burke with Interdyne BMI. We just have a few housekeeping items to go over before we begin. Here is the upcoming webinars that we have hosted throughout July and August in case there's any on here that interests you that you haven't yet seen. You can find more information about each webinar on the events page on our website, and this is also where you will find a link for registration. The next upcoming webinar is next Wednesday and focuses on single sign-on between Salesforce and Microsoft Active Directory. We're also excited to announce that we have a couple of special offers available to our BMI clients. Until July 31st, we have a discount of 25% off available of SmartView. And also until October 14th, you can get Alltech Doc Link free import manager with Doc Link purchase. If you want details on any of these promotions, you can find it on our website or reach out to us after the webinar. And next, come join Interdyne BMI at this year's User Group Summit. This year will be hosted in Tampa, Florida from October 11th to the 14th. This covers the main Dynamics product line, so AX, CRM, GP, and NAV, and all Interdyne BMI clients can get 10% off registration. So if you're still waiting, then reach out to marketing@interdynebmi.com. and we can hook you up with that discount. We also have a brunch before the conference, so everyone is welcome, and please let us know if you can attend. During the conference, we have BMI team members as well as clients speaking at the summit, and of course, BMI will be hosting a party, so stay tuned for more details on that. And today, we'll be focusing on how EDI integration drives warehouse, 3PL, and shipping productivity, which will be presented by John Matera from Redtail Solutions. And I have my colleague Dave Carlton on the call as well. And just the last housekeeping items to go over before we start. We started the call by muting everyone, so if you have any questions during today's presentation, please use the question box feature or the raised hand icon, which are both located on the dashboard on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll be recording this session and uploading to YouTube, and we will include a link in the follow-up email. And lastly, we'll have some time with we'll have time for Q&A with John at the end of today's webinar, and we'll be covering all the questions submitted then. And that should cover all the housekeeping, so you can take it away, Dave.
Well, thank you very much, Michael, for going over that. I just want to add, I think there was one webinar missing on there, and that's coming up on August 4th. It's our latest in our series of webinars on supply chain, and it's entitled Reaching the New Professional Buyer Online E-Commerce for B2B. I know it's on our website. I'm sure why we missed on this slide, but that's okay. Well, thank you again. Let me reintroduce myself as we've done for the first two parts of the series. My name is Dave Carlton. I'm Supply Chain Industry Manager here at Interdyne BMI, and proud to do so. I have been in the area of distribution for 30 plus years, and I got the gray hair to prove it. We'd like to continue on with our series. We've got our same subject matter expert on today who has done a tremendous job in the first two parts of the series. John Matera, we'll be walking you through a subject that's very, very dear to me, and that is the area of how EDI integrates with the warehouse, 3PL, and shipping and receiving products. I will be monitoring the questions at the end. We hope you have some for us. Very, very important subject we know to you. Again, this entire series is designed so that you, our customers, we can provide to you the very best in products and services to help you, wage this war, in the supply chain management arena. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce once again our subject matter expert, John Matera from Redtail Solutions. John, they are yours.
Thank you, and you should be able to see my screen now.
Yeah, coming up good.
Okay, great. So today we're going to talk about supply chain EDI. And that means things that get sold from suppliers to retailers, manufacturers, distributors, and we'll include the transportation and logistics companies here too. They all need rapid, reliable order to cash. And depending on which side you're on, it could be procure to pay too. A lot of people who roll up products and sell them to others may also buy using EDI. Today's example, we're going to be using just the sell side. So why is integration important? Well, you really need to speed this whole cycle time because that's what drives up profits. And all of these steps that you take manually or with paper can be very time-consuming and error-prone. EDI becomes, in addition to the ultimate way to do B2B commerce, it becomes the communication protocol amongst a lot of these steps. And that's really what we're going to be talking to today, how to streamline this whole process and make sure that you reduce your inventory, your sales days outstanding, and reduce your total costs. Now, markets have become much more complex. Early, it was really pretty much single channel. It was a fairly straightforward process to get from you to your ultimate customers. But it's steadily progressed to where new supply chain patterns are happening that generally called omni-channel commerce. The difference here is that new competitors are appearing overnight. The time between products cycle updates is really shrinking. More products are being bought online for drop ship. So you're really seeing quantity shift from cases to smaller or even one at a time quantities. A lot of retailers and manufacturers have even separate sites for each type of commerce. Costco has 7 different sites for businesses to sell to them. Caterpillar has 13. So this really makes manual processes a lot more difficult and drives the need to have all this integrated. And remember, again, EDI is the vehicle for that. So what are the costs of not integrating? Well, bad customer satisfaction. Everything you sell becomes part of your report card. And if you got a bad report card, you sell less. It can just result in flat errors, things where you drop orders, miss orders, enter them incorrectly. That can drive chargebacks, which are the penalties that a lot of retailers charge. Ultimately, you slow down your payments or maybe even lose customers if you're not good at all this. Further, the costs of doing things manually is going up. Direct and indirect labor continue to be the biggest controllable components of the fulfillment process. Now, poor integration does spawn errors and all that, but really when you look at the people costs, it's hard to even find and keep people. There's a 25% annual turnover in fulfillment jobs in the industry. That's sort of a premium that you have to pay on top of regular wages when you have that much turnover to deal with. Deloitte did a study recently and found that 67% of suppliers experience worker shortages. So integration is required just to get the job done when there aren't people available. So let's look at why integration is important from the standpoint of capacity. Efficiency in fulfillment really equals adding capacity to your operation. Suppliers rate themselves on fulfillment efficiencies using a couple of key metrics. One is a percent of orders shipped complete. This means that you had the inventory on hand and you were able to deliver in time. the percentage of demand that you meet. How many orders are fulfilled based on compared to how many you had possible to fulfill. And then inventory turnover, how well are you doing on cost of goods over the average inventory investment. So the turnover ratio is very important. You really need to try to increase turns, fulfill orders complete, and keep inventory down to manage your capital effectively. Integration is a way to turn any waste you have in this into actual capacity. So let's look at a basic fulfillment process. When a customer sends a purchase order, the supplier enters it into their ERP system either directly or using an order entry module, and then an acknowledgement is sent back to the customer confirming the receipt. You check inventory due dates, and if everything looks good, then the order is accepted on your side of the system. And we'll talk about this whole part of the process being order receipt time. Okay, next is time to process the order. That means you have to send the order out to your warehouse or to your third-party logistics company, pick it, pack it, get it ready for shipment, and create an advance ship notice. Pardon me, which is the electronic packing slip you're going to send, and send it back to the receiving department at the company. Once everything is ready to go, then you're ready to ship, and if you've managed everything correctly, you get things done by the due date. You send the invoice and the ASN all get there on time, the goods get there on time, and the payment comes when you're expecting it. So why do improvements in this whole fulfillment process pay off? We're going to look at 3 examples here. In the first case, we see a supplier who was able to compress their order processing time. They're going to cut this much off their order processing time. Okay. That gives them more time to get the order right, possibly to reduce inventory by having more time to order the goods from their own suppliers, and maybe giving them additional buffer in the transportation time too, so that when they cut this time down, the difference in the greens here, they get a whole bunch more slack. They can meet their commitments on time and do a better job. In the second example, this supplier reduced order processing time dramatically, you can see here. But they didn't use the save time as a buffer, either for order receipt or transportation time. They actually were able to deliver quicker. So they could outperform their competition by promising earlier delivery times and or beating the expectations of their customers with early arrivals. So this gets them more favorable ratings and increases sales. In the last example, this supplier cut their order processing time in half, but what they did is they kept the order receipt window open longer. So their cutoff times were the shortest in the business. So they could deliver better customer service than their competition, deliver on time, and thus get more sales. So these 3 examples are possible ways that you could use better order fulfillment time to increase your own productivity. Now let's look at a manual order fulfillment process. In this example, the customer gets a purchase order. They enter it into their ERP system. They may be using a web form EDI order from their customer. So they're taking the information from here and they're keying it into their ERP. They'll send the acknowledgement manually back to purchasing through the web form. And then they'll start their fulfillment process internally. They'll transcribe whatever data needs to be done into their pick-pack system. They'll print orders, send them to the warehouse, and then they'll go on and create labels for the shipping company, create packing slips, print the barcode labels, load the stuff in the cartons, and make sure the right label gets on the right carton. Then they can enter the ASN. You can't really create an ASN until all this is done. So then this information has to go back to whoever is keying in the information on the web form, send it to the customer, and here's an example of a hypothetical order. There could be a lot of information just for a single order to enter into an advanced shipping notice. It really gets complicated when you have big orders. This is a picture I actually took of one order from one customer at a supplier warehouse. So you can imagine what it's like to create an ASN for every item in every carton on every pallet of this mountain of merchandise. So what happens is then all this information has to come together. The information gets sent to the transportation company, it's picked up, it's sent to the stores, to the distribution centers, wherever. Then an invoice is created, sent to the accounts payable department, and if everything works great, you get your money. Now, if you have a 3PL, the process is identical, except that there are other information, there's other information you have to send to the third-party logistics company. There are other types of documents, the warehouse fulfillment order and the warehouse shipping order that you have to exchange, either manually or by fax, etc. So how do we integrate all of these processes? One way is to just exchange files. Take these document files here and ship them back and forth with attachments and load them into their respective systems. That can save keyboard time and perhaps reduce some errors. It's still a fairly labor-intensive process and one that you have to take great care to execute correctly. These kinds of things are pretty simple. If you have low order volumes, entering things into your ERP system, sending the acknowledgement, sending an invoice. ASNs are almost always difficult, even if you have smaller order volumes and not that many items, because it's just a very difficult thing to do. This is a place where you really have to be careful the solution you're choosing and the vendor you pick to make sure they can really do a good job on this. If you have an integrated warehouse system, then a lot of this information can be sent from system to system internally to avoid the need to do a lot of this manual data carrying. Again, EDI is often the vehicle by which all this information gets exchanged. Again, even in an integrated scenario, you have to be careful that ASN automation is supported by whatever solutions you're choosing. Integrated 3PL, same thing, but here are the two documents I mentioned before, the warehouse ship advice and the 3PL order. This is analogous to the same documents you would use internally for your warehouse, but they have different EDI transaction codes when it's to a third-party company. So again, all of these things can be integrated nicely. EDI is the vehicle for it, and if you pick the right vendors and have all the right piece parts in place, this automation can happen very well. But you got to make sure you check this out carefully. So what are the recommendations to make this all work? One is, ERP systems are different. Even within Microsoft Dynamics, there are different between GP and NAV, for instance. You really have to make sure that whatever EDI solution you're using functions very well with the ERP system that you have. Also, the integration with warehouse management systems, shipping systems, barcode scanning, pick-pack systems. These vary from ERP to ERP and from EDI vendor to EDI vendor. So you really have to customize, check your own requirements to make sure this is working well for you. Third-party logistics companies are different. If you're using ones, you should be able to make sure that they have the ability to handle ASN automation using those EDI documents, because that's really what's going to make this whole thing tick. Overall, make sure when somebody says integration, you really ask what they mean, because this is an often abused word in the industry, and attention to detail really matters here. Where things live, what they talk to, what protocols they have, do they support the languages and the databases and the integrations that you have. You really have to be careful when you're checking out solutions, or you could be in for surprises and maybe a lot of custom work that you didn't count on. So if you do all this and you do integrate your process, what happens? You can integrate, you can increase your cash flow, you can be much more responsive to your customers, increasing how happy they are with you and therefore how much sales you get. You can reduce costs primarily through labor reduction and thereby increase capacity. What that means is, if you look at the typical growth curves, you can change those to keep costs level and increase sales, and that will shift this profit curve up, tilt it so that you get this nice profit benefit here over time as you increase sales without adding costs, either for plant capacity or for labor. So that's really why you want to consider a project to integrate, either get the piece parts that are missing in integrated fulfillment, or connect ones that you have that are not currently integrated sufficiently. Okay, so that's the gist of it. And Dave, if you have any questions or would like to jump in here, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, I will jump in for sure. Thank you so much, John. I mean, when you talk about two subjects that are very, very passionate to me, one's called efficiency and the other is called profitability. I want to thank you for wrapping those two things within this subject matter. I haven't seen any questions come across. We'll leave it open for another minute or two to see if anybody has any questions. Let's see here. Okay, so it's just us. Everybody got off that was on, other than hey Mike, you want to unlock Genevieve?
Yeah, let me bring her over to this side.
Unlock her, but
oh yeah, I think I can unmute. Let's see. Hey Genevieve, can you hear us?
I can. Hi guys.
Hello.
Hey, I was listening in the background. Hey, are you gonna provide the slides? I missed that if you said you were.
We can send out the recording. The slides, yeah, we did not mention.
Oh, well, if I can just look at the recording, and well, actually, if you send me the slides, because I'd like to listen to it again.